Welcome, everyone. Thank you, Jocelyn. I think I'll call the meeting to order then, since it's 5:31. Looks like we're mostly here. Hope everyone's having a great evening. First item on our agenda is public comment. I'm looking here on my Zoom screen to see if we have anyone here who'd like to join us for comment. Welcome, Kristen. Is there anything you want to say while you're here? Not that you have to. Just welcoming you.
Not till we get to the
so.
friends part. I'm just here for the friends.
I'm going to give it a moment because we did have a student from the high school who is asking to join our meeting for public comment. So I'll just give it a moment in case she still comes on. If it's okay with everyone, I'll keep our agenda moving. And then if this student does come on, if it's okay with everyone, if we pause and give her an opportunity to do her public comment, if that would be okay with everyone else. So we'll move on. And then if she happens to join us, we'll give her an opportunity to speak. So we'll move to the December approval of our minutes. Are there any questions or any comments on the minutes that Robert submitted?
Move approval.
Second.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
All right. Our second agenda item then is the approval of the vendor report. And I know that we, with the December report, do you want to go through that, Jocelyn, and kind of explain the timing again?
Sure. This is to staff shortages. We have had a variety of staff out sick at the library and in the city finance department, and we're just behind. So this will be for approval at the February meeting, and we'll double up. So we will do December of 2021 and January of 2022 expenses and vendor report all together then. We're in sort of the weird time right now where we're still coding to both years. Accountants refer to this as the 13th and 14th months of the year. And so there's still a lot of movement happening, and the statement that I sent you for the 212 fund is a good example of this. We still have quite a bit encumbered right now. So I think it would also be worth our time to look at real numbers next month. I did just want to take a quick rundown of that statement though, because I sent it out late and there wasn't a lot of time, like an hour, to review this. So just kind of wanted to take the big sweeps at this and talk kind of mechanics of how the budget gets reconciled. So Fund 212 over on the left here with each of our accounts listed behind, these match up with the vendor report. So when you see the itemized list under, the 212 fund for the 230 account, that is all the books. So that's how these two statements work together. We, for the public charges for service, the copy and faxes, again, this is where we estimate that we're bringing in $24,000 a year in revenue. from charging 10 cents a page for copies. And we're not meeting that revenue as expected. Well, not necessarily expected, but as hopefully planned, optimistically planned earlier this year. And so this is a piece that will be reconciled with the fund balance. Everything else is a static revenue. Then a quick glance at the 212 fund right now, even though it's kind of messy. We still have the last payroll for the year to run. So these top 3 accounts, the 110, the 111, and the 112, will still see movement in. The longevity account should be zeroed. That's calculated to the dollar per the city ordinance for that personnel benefit. So that will be finalized this last pay period. And then I have a couple questions for Bill Burns about why we're over with this retirement. All the benefits accounts in our budget are really set forth by the finance department with approval by the personnel and finance committees. And then once that's set, then the library board and director are responsible for overseeing those funds. So those are budgets that are already set that I don't really do a lot with. So I have a couple questions on that for Bill that we'll be able to follow up with next month. And then we still have quite a bit encumbered in the 230 account for books, the 210 for office supplies, and the 233 for audio. We're looking like we're going to be over in several accounts, but not by nothing that wasn't anticipated or planned. The only thing that's a little over further than I thought it would be is the 340 building grounds and maintenance. And that's really because at the beginning of 2021, we had those series of really bad floods in the building. And that really took a big chunk out of that budget right up front. But still, over by $1,700 isn't undoable. So that's great. And then these last 3 accounts are still showing up in my reports and still messing up our reconciliation. So account 800, 850, and 998 are all pass-through funds or working funds for money that was coming from somewhere else that was being expended out of the fund 212. And so you'll see those go away next year. So we're getting close. This unexpended funds right here, you see this is what we have left in the budget. So $267,208.11. I'm expecting that to be closer to $150. So we still have quite a bit of encumbered expenditures to see through the 212 fund, but we definitely will be ending the year with that anticipated fund balance. I've been working on getting some quotes to plan for expenditure with that, and you'll be seeing those for recommendation and approval as I'm able to acquire them. It'll probably be throughout the first 6 months of the year at least. Any questions on our 212 fund before we move on and introduce Tracy?
Thank you, Jocelyn.
Okay. All right. It is my pleasure to introduce Tracy Miller from the South Central Library System and her new role as a consultant for the system. And this is not that directors have favorite consultant positions, but I will say that the position that Tracy holds is of oftentimes the most logistically beneficial to library directors. And we really appreciate the work that she does with our annual reports, which we'll hear more about when I get to my director's report. So Tracy, thanks for joining us.
Okay, well, thank you for inviting me to your meeting today. Yeah, I'm Tracy Miller. I am the Public Library Administration Consultant So yes, that is a mouthful. One part of my job, like you said, is assisting with annual report and everything that has to go with that. So I try to make that project as smooth as possible for the directors. I'm also the answer person for anything in Chapter 43. So if you've got statute questions about libraries that pertain to Chapter 43, I'm your person to come to. Another big part of my job, though, is working with you, the trustees. So I can assist with director job announcements, answering policy questions, trustee training, and anything that comes up, I can assist you with that. So I know that several of you are new to your board, like within the last 6 to 9 months. So I just wanted to take an opportunity to talk to you about what your responsibility is as a trustee. So Chapter 43 of the state statute spells it out wonderfully about what your primary responsibilities are as a trustee. Also, I'm sure that most of you have access to the Trustee Essentials Handbook. It's a good idea to review the chapters in that book. You may want to pick a chapter, read it, and discuss it at your board meeting. Make sure that everybody is understanding those chapters the same, and the more knowledgeable you are about what your role is, the better trustee you are going to be for your library. So I'm just going to do some quick overviews today. We're not going to go really in depth because we have hour-long webinars that you can watch to talk about responsibility, and I'm not going to take up all that time with you today. So what is your responsibility as a trustee? So first off, you have exclusive control of all library expenditures. You advocate for the money allocated to your library. You review the yearly budgets and you approve it. You hand that off to your director and you let her run the library with that budget. You advocate the monthly expenditures or approve the monthly expenditures. You set employee compensation. Anything that has to do with money goes through you. You also have exclusive control over land, buildings, money, property that is used for library purposes. Okay, so that falls under your wheelhouse as well. You also hire the director for the library. That's part of your job to, if there's a vacancy, you interview and decide who the best candidate is to represent your library. You set policies, bylaws. You assist in strategic planning. You deal with any contracts, develop capital improvement projects. You also support the library staff. And what I mean by this is through your policies. So let's say an example, you have a patron that's a behavior problem and their actions go against what your behavior policy is. You need to support your staff as they carry out your policy and not backtrack. So that's part of the way that you are there to support what your library staff is doing. Any statements coming from the library, they need to come from the board. And this is usually through one spokesperson. So a lot of times it's your chair or your president. However, it could be if you have a member who is great at public speaking, maybe you want to assign them to be your spokesperson for the entire board. That's completely up to you. What I feel one of the biggest parts of your job is to advocate for your library. This is so important. You can do this, well, you are doing it through your commitment to your board. You're attending meetings, become knowledgeable about what's going on in your library. So if you're stopped in the grocery store and somebody asks you a question about something that's specifically going on in the library, you can answer that question right then and there. Part of the learning about being a trustee, you can check out our trustee page on the South Central website. We've got some great articles on there. We update it quarterly. You can sign up for our webinars. We do trustee training. I'm sure you've all heard about it. You can go to the website and watch past webinars that we have given about different topics that trustees, may find themselves in, depending on anything that can happen, about your control of money, how that works, writing policies. We've got all sorts of different webinars on there to help you out. Another part of the advocacy is the community networking, and this is really important. So do you belong to the Lions or the Kiwanis group? This is a perfect place to advocate for your library. Make an introduction for your director so she can go speak to the group, or you yourself speak to the group. Community engagement. If you belong to other groups in your community, get together and find a way to join these organizations with the library, work together on a community project. That's always a great way. Legislative Day, that's a big one. That's coming up in February. Go ahead, go down to Madison and talk with your representatives about how important your library is. Also, we do have pamphlets and stuff like that, that if you decide to go to Legislative Day, that you can give that talk about SCLS as a system. You can always put together information about your own particular library. I know Jody, our data person, has put together a lot of wonderful on Tableau data points that you can just talk about your library, and you can hand these out to your representatives and show what your library is doing for your community. So I think that's a great way to get them involved in what's going on. Now, we've talked about all this advocacy part. One thing to remember is that it looks a lot different than it did 36 months ago. And today at work, we were just talking about how everybody is experiencing COVID burnout, especially in the winter months. We all thought we were kind of coming out of the COVID bit when the vaccine started. And now here we're back in January, and it seems like we're backtracking. And so, people aren't venturing out in public like they were 36 months ago. We're still in a decline. Programming does not look anywhere the same as it did 36 months ago. We're not having big crowds of people coming to in programming. The library staff is dealing, I think it's safe to say, with extreme stress due to COVID. I mean, first we're closed, then we're open, then it's curbside only. Every day you don't know what you're going to walk into every day. And that's just running the library. What about dealing with the patrons' attitudes when they come in? We've been hearing a lot of people that, Dane County, we still have the mask mandate. We have people that don't want to wear a mask. So, you have to deal with those attitudes that are coming at you, even when you're not the person that's making the decision. We're just following what's being mandated. So taking all this into consideration, as a library board, this is a great time for you to just advocate for your staff. And it's a time to step back and really look at what they're doing, for the library themselves. I've been told that the word that Middleton is using this year is the word stabilize. So think about stabilizing your library staff. Make sure you have enough staff. I think I just heard that you've had some people out and staffing has been an issue. I don't know if that's just because people have been ill. We have a lot of people that used to be in the workforce that are quitting now. I mean, that could be something that you could be dealing with. You as a library board need to make sure that you're approving the hiring of positions. You're the one that says, we need 3 librarians and we need, 2 pages. We need, what's the size of your staff? Make sure that you're approving the hiring of those positions so that your director can go and advertise and hire people to fill those positions to help alleviate the burnout that your current staff is facing. Another thing during this time is don't micromanage the staff. Managing the staff is not your place, okay? Day-to-day decisions fall on the director. She's there to hire staff, train staff, carry out the policies that you've set, design programs that, you know, will hopefully bring people in or bring people together, whether it's in person or virtual, you know, whatever is working for your community. You know, the marketing and advertising for things going on in the library, collection management, all of the stuff that's the day-to-day running of the library is the responsibility of the director and the staff that she has hired. Okay, she's reading the community daily and adjusting to what needs to be done or what needs to be offered. So now this doesn't mean that you can't discuss things, you know, give ideas and options of things that the library can do. But once you make those decisions, you hand it off to the director and the staff to put those things, you know, make them see come true. So I feel that you need to really look now at this current time as a way to look to support your staff through the responsibilities that you've been given as a trustee. So, you know, advocating for them just as you would advocating for the library itself and what your funding and programs and everything that you're advocating for the library to do, just make sure you're also advocating for the staff to keep them mentally healthy, physically healthy, and there to, you know, with open arms to welcome the community in. So I know this was kind of quick. I didn't want to take up a lot of your time discussing these things, but if you have any questions, and feel free if there's like a certain topic for trustee responsibility, I can definitely come back and we can focus on one thing and talk about it. If there's something that you're not quite sure you understand, we can come and discuss that, and I'll open it up to any questions.
Could you put your website address in the chat?
Yeah, I could put the SCLS site in there as well. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure. Anything else?
Not a question. I just want to thank you. This is, I think it's, I've been on this board for, I don't know, 4 years, probably five, I guess. And some of this I know, I probably know all of it, but it's really helpful to hear it all in one place and to have it kind of, especially in the world of COVID and, like you said, people getting sick, people kind of retiring because they don't really want to be in a customer facing situation anymore. It's really helpful to hear kind of this overview of what we as a board can do to support our library. So thank you very much.
Oh, you're very welcome. Yeah, I think it's even more important now to just be supporting the frontline staff that's out there every day. Because they really don't know, you know, when they unlock the door, what they're going to be dealing with. You know, there are a lot of people in our communities that, you know, are not handling the current world situation well. And so, you know, sometimes they act out and it's not necessarily because of the person they're acting out to. They didn't actually do anything to them, but they just don't know how to work through these feelings they have. And unfortunately, sometimes, you know, it's not always the library. It could be anywhere they're at, but, you know, it's kind of like, don't shoot the messenger kind of thing. It's, but, and even just the day-to-day, you know, our own personal feelings about how we react to what's going on. And, I do know for myself, I want to see people, but I also, take into consideration, should I be going out to this, public event or whatever? I have family that I need to take care of. So I got a, a lot of consideration there. And I think, like I said, we were doing a lot of advocating for things in our community, programs offering community engagement, all of that, out. Just in 2019, we were just doing that. And now we have to just kind of change our thinking and work with where we're at now. And yeah, I wish it was better news. I really do.
Tracy, thank you so much for taking the time to join us this evening.
Absolutely. You know what? I was just looking on here. I don't see the chat.
Yep.
I don't know if I.
Yeah, it's turned off.
Oh, okay.
Our city administrator's request for public meetings.
Oh, okay.
On our library website, midlibrary.org/board, board member resources. These are all of the big links. And these are links that I generally start with for orientation, and that I actually refer to on a regular basis, especially chapter 43 with the statute.
Yeah, that's a big one. That's a big one.
Yeah, and if the system resources are available to the trustees, like Tracy said, and so if Jocelyn's ever on vacation or something goes sideways, you've got a friend in Tracy to call.
Yes, absolutely. Don't hesitate to give me a call. Any questions you have, you can call us up. And if I don't know the answer, or if it's not in my wheelhouse, I will definitely find you the correct person to talk to or find you the answer that you need.
Thanks so much, Tracy. You're welcome to join us for the rest of the meeting if you'd like. Otherwise, thanks for your time.
Well, I really appreciate you giving me this opportunity to talk to you, but I will let you guys carry on with your board meeting tonight. And again, if you have any other questions for me, just let me know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank
take
you,
care.
Tracy.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks for arranging for that, Jocelyn. That was very helpful. Very good refresher and some new learning as well. Our old business is our equity, diversity, and inclusion efforts, which is also one of the updates we have below, but revisiting that from old business. I know that we had a subcommittee and we had a meeting, and then we had a partial meeting, and we haven't been able to reschedule again. Although I know Rose and Jean and Karine have been able to kind of arrange for some scheduling moving forward and some work on our policy draft. I've had to step aside just with work with the school district is just very cumbersome right now. And so they've agreed though to kind of take the lead on that. So I'm gonna, in case there's anything that they want to update or anything you want to mention, Jocelyn, I'll kind of hand it over to anyone else.
Yeah, I will give just a short update. We are writing a draft statement and policy, and I'm aiming to get that to Rose and Karine in the next 2 weeks to 3 weeks. And then we'll have an opportunity to review and refine that draft before sharing it with the board. Maybe we'll get it ahead of the February meeting, but certainly by March. That's the plan. So, and thank you, Mary Beth, for all of your facilitation efforts over the last couple of months. Much appreciated.
Thank you. And sorry, I've had to kind of bow out for the time being, but I appreciate you taking the lead.
We're all
That
swamped.
group.
Yeah.
Committee updates, is there anything you wanted to mention here, Jocelyn? I know with our development and building isn't much needed here, but is there anything you wanted to mention?
Yeah, just to just a reminder that, the building committee was originally formed back in 2015 to work with a consultant on the building feasibility study, which then rolled into the Next Chapter project, which then rolled into the Community Campus Planning Committee efforts. And then it came to an abrupt halt, and that's where it has stood for almost over a year and a half, almost 2 years now. At the committee of the whole retreat, so that means the Common Council and all of the committees that are underneath the city of Middleton are all invited to a retreat, which is really just a fancy word for a Saturday meeting. And we will be revisiting where we left off with the Community Campus Planning Committee. So depending on how things move forward with those efforts, and if the committee reconvenes, how the hiring of a new city administrator goes, how the election in April shakes out, we will have a new council, we'll have a new city administrator, and we will have a mostly completed strategic plan for the city of Middleton. So I could foresee the building committee really coming back, focusing on that longer term strategic planning when it comes to facilities and building later this year. So that's kind of where that committee is standing. The development committee was formed in 2018. We really focused on the Next Chapter campaign and really formed the development committee in an effort to fundraise where the Friends were uninterested in fundraising. Since the Friends have reconvened with a new board, we've completed the Next Chapter project, in the whole fundraising campaign successfully. We're just still on hiatus with development at this point. I don't necessarily have any really solid direction or goals or initiatives for the development committee. I think that there's a lot of potential and room for working more closely with the Friends of the library. And once we get into the second half of the year and we're really looking at what's the future for our financial needs, are we planning for a major capital campaign with the community campus, or are we looking at growing the endowment? Are we looking at doing more with investment funds? These are all things that the development committee could possibly take a lead on. I've been trying to get Bill Burns to come to one of our meetings for a while to talk about investments, and we're not quite there yet, but we have a lot of our back end accounting cleaned up, and that's been helpful to get a clearer picture of options. So the development committee could have some potential again later this year, especially in working with the Friends. At this point, the committee members on the development committee left, I believe, are Mary Beth, and I think that might have been it.
Mm-hmm.
So, so unless there's, a specific project right now, there's not really a purpose for these committees. But that being said, having a standing committee that is robust and operating on itself with its own charter and purpose and strategy is definitely something that we're working towards, that we haven't necessarily had at Middleton before. So on hiatus, possibilities later this year.
Thanks, Jocelyn. Committee updates, and we'll start with City Council. Robert?
Sure. The Jocelyn mentioned probably one of the bigger things right now is we are, one way or another, we're getting a new city administrator in April. I am chair of the city's personnel committee. So that's getting hot and heavy, and for me, get lots of meetings and weekend get-togethers to interview and just meet some of the candidates here in January and February. So I don't know how that will affect the library or the city as a whole, but it will be a change, and that will be interesting, and you know, we'll see where things go after April, I guess, with kind of new city leadership there. And then, you know, the Common Council is going to be changing fairly drastically, and I'm one of the people, you know, not going to be here after April. So we're just trying to, we don't exactly know what you know, May and after will look like, but there will be some changes, and just kind of I'll try to keep you posted. Otherwise, really no other updates that I think are particularly relevant to the library.
Updates from our friends group.
Sure. Or do you want to go, or do you want me to go?
Since you're here, why don't you go ahead? Take this
Okay.
opportunity.
Yes, so we just finished our membership drive, and it was the most successful membership drive that we, in the last 6 years, from a general membership standpoint by far. And so that was really good. We weren't looking so much at total amounts, although that's nice to see, which it was, but we are kind of looking more at membership retention from a number standpoint of our membership numbers, but they kind of correlate as well. So yeah, so best one in the last 6 years by far. Total as far as November and December donations, which is when we usually run our membership drive, and very much by far over. We have a couple different categories in our treasurer put together. So aside from a large corporate donation we got in 2017, which we're going to kind of look into the financials of that year. Other than that, that's the only year that beat this year in the last 6 years, and that was fully due to that corporate donation. Otherwise, our membership was much higher and everything, which is great. So right now we're just trying to rebuild the just the contact to maintain the membership, maintain members from year to year, and keep them in the loop. So we're working this year on a membership mailing list for our quarterly letters via email, and then also having them available at the library for those who prefer paper copies, so that way we don't have to mail out everyone, and then having the annual one that does get mailed out. And then we're also working, we did update all the brochures and the website and everything to reflect the closure of the bookstore. And so we're just trying to make sure everything is up to date as far as our anything we distribute, pamphlets, website, all of those things are up to date, and bylaws and that are next on the chopping block. And then we have some, other than that, we're just kind of looking forward to goals for the next year, and kind of talking with Jocelyn about plans now with some programming budget coming from the city, plans to make sure the friends are involved and have some special events, but also have different things throughout the year that we are doing. And so want to maintain that and kind of work on that plan, which we're working on together. Art, if you have anything.
Do you want to talk about some of the structural things that you're working on too?
Sure. What do you mean by that?
Oh, just getting things organized for the board and so forth.
Okay, yeah. So we're just trying to, a lot of laying things out during the first quarter. Throughout that, we're going to work on the friends taking over the handling of all donation checks that get mailed to the library, and kind of working out a process of what is happening there right now, transitioning that with some checks and balances, making sure everything's there and nothing falls through the cracks, so that by mid-year, the friends are doing the deposits and checks. We also kind of are trying to come up with a simple setup for our newsletters. We're making different people responsible for different things. Also working on outreach at library programming when we do return to in-person. There's kind of a plan, and then everything kind of got canceled, but I'm trying to have some things for outreach to let people know that the friends are present. Other than that, just trying to get everything set and people responsibilities, and that kind of covered, Art. I'm not quite sure.
Yep,
Okay.
yep, that's great. Thank you.
Any questions? Otherwise, that's all.
Yeah, just one, I just I had to buy something on Amazon Smile recently, and it's still assigned to the Friends of the Library, Middleton Library. And I just wanted to
Good.
make sure that that's still one of your sources of revenue. And okay, good, you got that covered. Awesome.
Yes, it doesn't bring in that much, and I'd have to look at the financials, but it does bring in some.
Yeah.
And we're working on making sure that's something that we are working on, among other things, to try to let people know that they can do that. It's highlighted on our website a little bit better with the update we just did. But that's something that actually we should probably include that on the pamphlet for the next distribution. So that's good that you mentioned that.
Cool. Thank you.
Kristen, this is Cindy Zellers. I haven't met you in person, but I'm very impressed with what you're saying and doing. So thank you for being willing to step up and do that.
Right. There's a lot of great people on our team, so I can't really take credit for most of it. But we're just excited to kind of just get everything really set up so that there's a process. There was a lot of a learning curve for even just sending out the membership letter. So just kind of have a process for making sure everything's there and that people are aware. I myself was a Friends member sporadically, as was most of the board, off and on for years, not off because of lack of interest, but more just because I didn't think about it. And so we know a lot of people kind of fall in that camp. Not everybody. And for those who are diehards bringing their checks every year and all of that, we so appreciate them. But we also know there's a lot of us who just get busy and forget to give, and that there's a lot of people who really do love and appreciate the Middleton Library and all that they do in the programming, but just aren't aware of the Friends organization, or honestly just forget to give. And so that's something that we're trying to work on, just to make sure people stay in the loop in the way that's best for them, whether it's via mail or print or online or via email. And so we know there's a lot of different demographics, so we're trying to kind of keep the target on a bunch of different ones.
Kristen,
You're
this is
definitely
Rose
on the right
Simon.
track.
This is Rose Simon. I want to thank you too for coming out and speaking to us and for stepping up to be the leader at the Friends Board. I'm a member of the Middleton Kiwanis group, and we're looking at having collecting books and having a sale at the sale that, what is his name, that from the newspaper,
George Zen's.
yes, he has a thing going on at the brewery in August, and I've spoken to him and he thinks that's a great idea if we have a sale that would benefit the Friends of the library. And I don't know if you think that's a good idea, if we could work with you with that and maybe announce to people that we're collecting books for that purpose, and hopefully raise some more money.
Just making sure I'm still unmuted. That is a great idea. I would love to talk more with you about that. I know that there has been a lot of comments from Friends members about wanting to see book stuff still going on, but with kind of not wanting to keep the storing and donation bins on site. That's kind of been a workaround we're trying to look at. So we would love to hear a little bit more about that.
Maybe
so,
we could,
yeah, we
maybe
should
we
touch
could even
base
have
and
you
maybe
come
have
speak
you
to one
come
of our
to board
Kiwanis
meeting and let
meetings.
us know.
Okay.
That would be awesome, because yeah, we're definitely, that's one thing, especially from our previous members, they would really love to see some of that. We've gotten some feedback on that, but knowing the constraints we have, wanting to be off site, knowing how much the library needs all the space, kind of there's some constraints with storage and different things, but something like that we could maybe work through a different organization, but to benefit the Friends. We could advertise through our newsletter that we're working on getting on. Those would all be good things to kind of be an in-between, where library administration's happy because we're not there in their faces, but some of these older members that, and anybody else who really appreciated the book sales could really get behind. So that's actually a great thing that we should really look to. So
Great.
We'll get in touch.
Okay, great.
Kristen, I would, with the transition from the old board to the new board, at one point, the library board wasn't sure how that was going to happen or if it was going to happen. And what's impressed me is now the size of the Friends board, that so many people turned out to be on the board, not just to be members. And I can't remember what's the total number of people on the board for the Friends? Is it 10 or more?
I
8 or
think so.
10?
Yeah.
Something like
I have
that.
to look at my letter real fast because I just send out emails and I don't count them.
A sizable number, because they were down to 2 or 3, and the old board, a couple people stayed on to help the transition, but they're all disappearing. So yeah, you've got a lot of people working together, and that's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, what I think the overall messaging from the Friends reorganization is that there is much interest in the library and the Friends. A lot of the people on the board were not involved at all before and didn't really know much about the involvement, and maybe wouldn't have been involved before because the book sorting and that wouldn't have worked with their scheduling and different things. But yeah, there's a lot of people that are interested in that. And so that's kind of, I think that's our theme with our reorganization, is knowing we got a lot of lovers of Middleton Library, and there's just a lot of people that fall in the cracks. And that's who we're trying to target to make sure we find all of those and keep them around.
And a lot of enthusiasm too.
So.
Thank you.
But I will, Rose, I'll get your email from Jocelyn and we'll get in touch, because that's
Super.
a great option. I love that.
Great.
Thank you so much. It's very, very awesome, the progress you've made. So thank you for sharing. School district updates. We've returned from winter break. We are in person, doing well. We've seen a slight uptick in some COVID numbers, mostly from students' exposures over winter break. Although, even though there's been a slight uptick, we're still in good status to remain in person. Working through just, with winter break, there's a semester change now coming. So working through the changes that we do from one semester to the other. I think the biggest thing that we're facing right now, which is happening everywhere, is just staffing, particularly staff that might be out sick and not really having enough substitutes. We're kind of short basically every day, staffing wise, and are, making it through. And basically I'm, everyone's kind of all hands on deck. So I show up, do my job, might need to go serve lunch. We have some office staff helping, drive buses and, do recess supervision, just so we can keep the day-to-day operations. So I think just like the library, like Jocelyn talked about, with some staffing shortages, we're experiencing that in the school district. So if you or anyone else would love to be a school sub, we'd love to have you. And that's kind of where we're at with the school district. Any updates from the community?
I don't know if this is where this fits or not, but the Middleton Equity Committee is meeting the last Saturday, I guess that's the 29th, from 1 to 4 in the council chambers to work on our constitution for the group and for just kind of where we're going from here. And so if any of you are interested, I would be happy to send you information on that, and you're all welcome to join. So yeah.
Rose, what was that date?
It's the 29th of September. And it's from 1 to 4, and it's in the city council chambers. Mike Davis was able to get that for us. And we're hoping to do it in person, but it may end up going to Zoom.
Okay.
You really wanted to be a civic powerhouse, you could attend the committee of the whole retreat and then the Middleton Equity Committee team afterwards.
Ah.
all on the same day.
Well, they're both called the retreat, you know, I guess that's the big thing now.
Thank you, Rose. Any other updates? All right, Jocelyn, would you like to share the director's updates?
Sure would. All right, so the December report got published late. I'm not going to spend a ton of time reading through this, but wanted to touch on a couple of the highlights and then take a quick dip into our statistics and where we're landing in terms of our operational stats for 2021. So Amy and with our outreach and engagement librarian ended the year super strong with a total of 18 programs outside of the library with 362 attendees. This is really exciting, especially for the month of December, because it included you can kind of see here a variety of ages, locations, everything from 4K classrooms to the youth center that happens after school. I think there's usually about 30 to 40 kids that attend there. The Cardinal View Senior Living, which is the new senior living facility out towards the end of Parmenter. The lobby stops there. Amy's been experimenting with a little bit the last 3 or 4 months, and it's been fun to see the numbers increase there. A lobby stop in library land means that the library will do a little pop-up in the lobby. These are really common for senior living centers, and they offer library card checkout, placing holds, delivering holds, returns. It's a very, very hands-on, high concierge type of service that's usually really popular with seniors and is a great way to reach people that might not be able to come to the library. If you didn't know, the city has a YouTube channel and you're able to watch those meetings from the comfort of your couch. That's linked right there. Our tech classes, we've been continuing to offer Techno Minutes. We had some great feedback on our staffer that runs this service. This is a great service for anyone that may have just gotten a device for a holiday gift, or someone that upgraded their phone and is a little intimidated with how to use a smartphone, or wants the really in-depth one-on-one assistance that you might not be able to get in a retail setting or with a family member, or you don't want with a family member. So the Techno Minutes have been really great. And even though we were only open for part of the year, Amanda was averaging a pretty solid 10 to 12 participants a month. We've had several opportunities to really experiment with the next chapter efforts, which has been very interesting, coupling that with what we're experiencing with our COVID response. We had these 3 goals for the next chapter project, which was increase the square footage available to the public, create flexible spaces for new ways of gathering, and improve the customer service experience. So that goal number 2, create flexible spaces for new ways of gathering, was a goal that we set when we had no idea what was in store for us. And I think that this goal, out of all 3 of them, has really proven to be the most resilient and beneficial for the library, and that we're able to really use our space in a different way because it's flexible. And we're talking about very simple things like casters on shelving. So our floor plan isn't permanent anymore. We can move things around. Has really proven to be very beneficial. So we've experimented a little bit with having programs on the main floor out in the open areas, where we start off in the back corner room in the kids area, which was previously the bookstore, and then let things sort of organically flow with a structure of a drop-in window or registration. So that way we can somewhat anticipate and kind of crowd control, but also not have the restrictions and all of the time commitment that's required to communicate back and forth with registrations. This is also a really great way to advertise programs because it's very happenstance and it's very in the moment. And we want to be able to accommodate people that are just in the building and happen to be there while we're decorating cookies and they want to join in. So this has been really great for staff to work together and collaboratively a little bit more. The way that this translates behind the scenes to the public is that we have different librarians that have different age focuses, that previously planned things separately, that spent money separately, that asked for money separately, that ordered things separately. And now with our new service model and with a different approach, somewhat out of necessity and some out of design, we're working more together and have really just busted down all of those silos. So everything from the budget to the planning to the program evaluation is being done in collaboration together. I wanted to share just a quick snippet of what that looks like behind the scenes. So we have a staff utility page where we communicate a variety of different operational things, including our daily schedule. And then we also have a place for program evaluations. If you look back at past years' monthly reports, you will see this list literally copied and pasted, the date and the program and the number of people in the report. That's how we previously were reporting and sharing information about programs. And while it's really fun, to see this big list, and we can drill in a little bit here and see what our evaluation is like on the 15th, it looks like, which it hasn't happened yet, but that's an error in the date. There's a little bit of information about what the contact was, how it went, things to keep in mind for next time. And this is how staff can refer back to things that went well, what didn't go well, and is also a great sustainability tool for staff turnover. So we're not losing that institutional knowledge of what that program was like from their experience. We're capturing that in the evaluation. And then this is where we get our program totals. These are specifically broken down by ages in this format for the purposes of the DPI's annual report so that I can easily compile all of our data. So this is where those numbers come from. With the updated strategic plan, and really working on how does the work of the library staff and the efforts of the trustees come to life in a strategic plan. We've moved towards more of a narrative that really demonstrates how does the teen Dungeons and Dragons program that Kelsey put on affect and impact each of our focus areas and those priorities underneath those focus areas. So that's why some months you might see something under one category and another month it might really be hitting a different focus area. And that's how then I build and write these reports. So moving on, we have our first new exhibit for the 2022 slate of exhibitions for the Christensen Family Art Gallery, Traces in the Snow by Richard Ferrum. It's great to see some new stuff on the walls. If you haven't been in the building, they're really beautiful winter scenes that look really nice in the gallery space. That's something that we're really excited about, and that is really nice when we can finish something and it's visible and we can see it and we can celebrate it. So the gallery is bringing a lot of joy right now. The paint pouring program, we had 90 people come to this. Again, how can we experiment with all ages, with more of a window drop-in than necessarily handling individual or family group registrations? So there's a lot of logistics that are happening right now behind the scenes so that we can continue to make programs like this happen and do it safely. I was on vacation up until this last weekend, and as I was gone, I was seeing all of the emails coming through about the super spreading variant and people pulling back on services and things getting canceled. And at this time, we are looking at moving all of our programming that was scheduled for in-person, almost all of it for the month of January, to virtual. So this is the first time since we've reopened last June, and then subsequently started offering in-person programming, that we've really actually had to cancel things and take a pause. It's been hard. It feels like we're going backwards. It's really emotionally draining. And the whiplash is something that we're all really feeling right now. I know anyone that's in public service, whether it's healthcare, education, or whatever, it's been a rough start to another year. So where we can take joy in kids pouring cupfuls of paint together and having fun, we do. We'll take it month by month as we move forward, and it's amazing how resilient we are when we have to be, and how much time and perspective can give us strength for that resiliency. Things that would have been a really big deal a couple of years ago are just part of our procedures now. And we've really, staff have done an amazing job responding to that resiliency with as much positivity as we can, and appreciative of each other. We had a really great intern this last semester. We support a variety of interns from the UW Graduate School every year. And I'm not sure if we are getting some this semester or not. I'll need to check with the staff that supervise those students. But that's always really great to have students here. And I've been told that Middleton continues to be a high desired destination for interns. So that always means a lot to us. And then lastly here, we have several significant vacancies. After 16 years of 2 different employment stints in Middleton, Lori Bell has moved on to the next chapter of her early retirement. And so at the end of the year, we wished her well, and we'll be evaluating this position for possible reposting or any recommendations for any adjustments in the next month or so. We currently have the deputy director for public services vacant, and I linked that job description there so you can take a look at how the final shakeout of that turned out. The deputy position just as a reminder, is very much focused on internal operations, the day-to-day decision-making, the public service desks, the operational processing that happens with incoming holds and checkouts. This was previously the head of circulation, and we've taken the head of circulation and expanded that position to include all building processes and operations. Previously, we did not necessarily have a point person for all of our operations, and the library really evolved over the course of decades, very siloed in different areas. And so this person will really focus on all of those internal things so that the director can then work more with elected officials, work more on board development, board orientation, more on partnerships, financial development, and a lot of the larger strategic planning that needs to happen for the future of the library. So those two big leadership positions, along with a handful of part-time positions right now, combined with the variants really taking off, have been a doozy. So our word for 2022 is stabilize. We are working on pulling together more research and plans for a hopeful mobile library service. But really 2022 is about stabilizing, grounding out, executing the plans that we've put in place, adjusting to our reorganizational chart, and working with our new elected officials and city administrator. So that's where we're ending the year. Any questions on any of that before I share a few tidbits about some statistics?
No questions, but you guys are having some, wow, good. I mean, I hope you can keep it up, but it's you've lost a lot, and you'll gain a lot, I'm sure, with the new employees, but
We will.
Tough times.
It is. It is, and it is for a lot of people everywhere. And, you know, I think that there's a lot that we could complain about. But as soon as I talk with my daughter's teachers at the high school or some of my colleagues in other states, we are very lucky in Middleton that we have a community, like Kristen was saying earlier, that supports their library, that believes in intellectual freedom, that is a community of readers, that values literacy. These are all things that we don't have to assuade the public to support us in. All we have to do is send out a letter and remind them that we're here, and they'll give money. We're really lucky.
It's nice though that you can see that. That's a point in your favor.
Yes. Well, it also shows with our statistics. So I'm going to look at another screen here while I'm talking. So please just shout out if you'd like me to slow down or interrupt, or if you need to interrupt me at all. I don't have the statistics in fancy charts and graphs quite yet, but as we're evaluating these, we prepare for two different annual reports. One is for the Department of Public Instruction. This is what is our state agency, and then they in turn report this information that the library board approves through this annual process to the feds. And then this also affects all of our formulas for our funding and our system statistics. This is where Tracy comes in. So there's a lot of preparation for that. We have a whole 2-hour webinar every year on how to fill out the forms. And then the second annual report is for the city of Middleton. This is more of a narrative. It serves as the archive for the city's operations and is written by department heads and compiled by the city administrator. And then we do have a third shorter annual report that is on our website, right under library info. And if you pop down to annual reports, you can see past year's reports here. So technically, I guess it's 3 annual reports that we do. This one that we have on our website is the fun one. The DPI one is full of all of the meat. So looking at some of our statistics, some of these can be measured on our library's health and performance, how well people are using the library, how trends are changing, how we're stabilizing. So there's a few things that we always look at, and you'll see some of these on the annual report for the DPI next month. Our circulation. This is a hard and fast number that we can calculate that includes a variety of different measures such as turnover and renewals. So if how fast an item is turning over or how many times it is renewed is also counted in the total physical circulation. So our total physical items that was checked out from the Middleton Library in 2021 is 461,679 items. So this is just physical books. So to give a bit of a comparison to that, in 2020, we were just over 300,000. And if we look at 2019, which I like to call the before times, we can see our total annual circulation was just over 700,000. So that total also on this report also includes digital items. So this is where there really needs to be a lot of explanation and breakdown when it comes to using and sharing statistics. So our total, including all of our digital items for 2021 is 635,162. So we're about, 70,000 items total short of where we were in the before times. So all in all, that's fantastic. That's really, really good. And it really goes to show how much people value physical and digital materials when they're still placing holds and seeking out library materials, even when the library is closed. So that I feel like is a really good, healthy indication of our collection and meeting the needs of the collection, and also our incoming holds that we're receiving from other libraries, which are on the hold shelves and all of those red bins that you see in the back room when you're here. We also look at our door count. We have door counters on our front doors, in the lobby and into the library proper. So even if someone is just returning something to the lobby and they're not coming into the library proper, we're still counting that as a library visit. In 2021, we were open for 181 days. In the before times, we were open an average of 338 to 340 days a year. So about just over a third of what we were offering before. And in 2021, we had 108,101 people through the doors. Our highest month was July at almost 17,000 people. And our lowest month was in December with 14,124 people. So our total for 2021, just over 100,000 people at 108. In 2020, we were way down to 71 days open. That's not including curbside, just in-person services with 70,000 people. And in the before times, we had almost exactly 360,000 people at 338 hours. So we're down from the before times of over 200,000 people a year. And that was really a snapshot of the second half of 2021 because we were doing curbside up until April, and then a hybrid express service. And then from June on, or I'm sorry, July on, it was just in person. So it's hard to compare, you know, we love to compare statistics to other municipalities and libraries our size. It's really hard to do that right now because all of our services are looking so different, and those standard baselines that we usually use against each other and for each other are constantly moving and being redefined. So without necessarily knowing what our other system or county libraries performance measures are looking like, I'm feeling very pleased with where we're ending the year and where we're looking at to grow and expand and continue recovering into this year. Any questions on circulation or visitor counts, or does anybody have any questions on any other statistics while I've got our spreadsheets open? Okay.
I don't have a question, but I just love hearing this kind of stuff. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll put together more little comparisons like this one right here from 99 to 2009 to 2019. It's fun to see that growth and change. And then I'm not a numbers person, but I am a storyteller, and I like how the numbers tell a story about the trends and where library services are moving and shifting and how people are using their library. And so in our 2021 report that we do like this, there'll be some more information like that about trends and use. So I think that's all I have right now on our report preparation and our preliminary statistics. Thanks.
Thanks, Jocelyn. Any new business that we have, or we don't have anything on the agenda, but is there anything that you wanted to mention, Jocelyn, or?
No, I don't have anything. You know, unless it's related to stabilizing, we're back burnering it. So I'm looking forward to all of the changes that are happening with the city this spring. That's going to be very exciting. There'll be some stabilizing that needs to happen after that. So I think we're starting off the year very hopeful, cautiously optimistic, and very burnt out and tired. So thanks for your patience with deadlines and reports.
Can I ask
Thanks,
one
Jocelyn.
question before we go? We had talked about having the February meeting in person, which I'll miss because I'll be out of town, but is it possibility still that we might go back online now with the way things are?
It's a great question. I'm glad you brought it up. I was just about to.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's perfect timing. Yeah, we had talked about a tentative return to an in-person meeting or with a hybrid option starting February. Given the way things are right now, I don't know if we want to remain virtual or if the hybrid option is even feasible yet, knowing that we're kind of waiting on some tech setup and stuff. So what are your thoughts, Jocelyn?
Sure. I'm just looking at our installation schedule. Oops. For the meeting room.
While you are looking that up, Jocelyn, I'll just state that, like at City Hall, they basically just went back to no walk-ins meetings by appointment only because, yeah, things have changed in our community. So they're going for less in person than more. So, but it looks like Jocelyn may have found what she was looking for now. So
Yes, so we have part of the work on the tech upgrades happening the week of January 24th. It looks like they're not going to be able to complete everything. They're going to have to come back for a second installation in late February because of supply chain issues and not all of the equipment has been delivered. So if we wanted to try and meet in person with a hybrid, that technology will not be available until it sounds like March at the earliest.
Then if it's okay with the rest of our group here on Zoom, would recommend that we remain virtual until we're able to do a hybrid option well. I think it's really hard to try to do it and not have the technology there and then feel like people can't fully participate. So unless others disagree, while I prefer meeting in person over Zoom, I think our safest option might be to remain virtual for now, if that's okay with the rest of our trustees.
I would
I'm
support.
seeing a lot of head nods and thumbs up. All right, so then we'll be virtual again on the 8th. And do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 All right. Stay healthy, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
thank you.
Have a good
And
night.
Mary Beth,
Thanks.
Nice
Mary
job,
Beth,
Mary Beth.
stay sane. It
Yeah,
sounds
good
like
luck, Mary Beth.
life is very difficult for you.